Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. It is that time again where we are reading the Bible, book by book. We're currently up to episode 8, which now contains my very favorite chapter of Genesis, that being 34. So that's going to be where we actually end off today. It's going to be a slightly shorter episode. We're going to be covering 31, 32, 33, and 34. There's a lot of things that actually happened, though, so that's going to be good, as opposed to the last couple of chapters where it's just essentially been Jacob who's been stuck in Laban's homestead, effectively working as a slave for God knows how many chapters. So to anybody who is not entirely caught up, I'm going to do a very short recap. So when we left off, Jacob fooled not only his brother Esau, but also his blind and partially retarded father, Isaac, who is now incredibly old and about to die, into essentially handing over all of Esau's inheritance over to him, which obviously he did not take too kindly to, and so he ran him out of town. At which point, God essentially confronted Jacob and said, "Hey, listen, I'm on your side, dude. Just go back there and, be king or whatever." And he's like, "Great. I'm going to take 20 years to do a side quest to get me a bitch." So he does go, and he takes the 20 years to get a bitch. He gets the wrong bitch. Then he gets 2 handmaids as bitches. And then he finally gets the bitch that he wants. And now 11 kids later, and as I said, 20 years, he is finally decided to leave his uncle Laban. But as we're about to see, it's not about to be so easy. So, yeah. Wow, we already got 6 people watching. That's great. Holy fuck. It's doing a lot better. Ryan, sup Eminem? I'm here to talk about your favorite topic again, Ireland. Fucking hell. Actually, you say that. We actually were talking about Ireland this past week, just because of all the fucking riots and shit that's been going down on there. It's been fucking crazy. Holy hell. Deserved, though. Honestly, you read all the news articles about it, and it's like there exists such a thing as subtext, and they're saying the far right are instigating these riots and shit like that. And I'm like, okay, so the subtext is that you're writing that the far right are the only people who actually care about the well-being of children. The fact that 5 small children were stabbed by somebody who shouldn't even be there in the first place. Hilarious. Turish says, huzzah! Hello, Turish. Glad to have you on board. Mythology in Mind says, hi, love, and at least he gets a bitch, unlike me. Same, but also, you're ignoring the fact that he is quite possibly the worst person ever, and he now has 4 bitches, plus 11 kids, plus a whole bunch of livestock, but, you'll see what he does with them if you stick around. He's very clearly not very appreciative of what he has. See, and I have 0. See, that's just quick maths. Alrighty. Well, I don't know if we should really be keeping up the preamble, or if you guys just want to see me go right into it. If not, I mean, I'm glad to, just hang out and talk to you guys for a little bit. But I mean, if not, we can instantly just get right into it. Excuse me for a little bit here. If I do sound a little bit fucky, my stomach is kind of upset as of right now, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. Provided I don't need to throw up in the middle of the stream, which wouldn't be good for anybody. Ryan. Oh yeah, the riots. Nah, the riots were mostly dickheads that don't care about those kids. I'd say like 25% actually did. Fuckers antagonized my dad trying to get home from work that day. Well, yeah. See, that kind of makes sense too. You know, you always got bad apples thrown in with a bunch of rioters. And I mean, like you can extend that to pretty much anything. It's just like you have people who have certain good intentions, but their methodology of trying to enact them are just terrible. So I understand that. Sir Adamantine, welcome. Glad you could join us. Yeah, no, the whole Ireland situation's fucked up. I would say overall, basically the entire culture, the prominent culture of Ireland is kind of getting a shock from this, which I think is well deserved. They've had their heads up their asses for far too long over there, but again, here's Messiah with his controversial opinions. His controversial opinions that are going to get him kicked off of YouTube again. Fuck. Alrighty. Well, I think we have a pretty good audience going here. So what say you guys that we just go ahead and jump right in? As always, guys, if you have any questions about any of the material, try to reserve it until afterwards. I will go back and like kind of go through the live chat as I am reading, but as of now, it is kind of hard to keep up with everything that's going on in the chats while I'm, hopping between tabs. So let me get that up. Let me share screen. This one. Yes. I need to remember how to do this. We haven't done it in a while. All right. So Genesis chapter 31. Actually, hold on real quick. I'm going to turn down this music here. It is ever so slightly distracting. I never know what volume to keep this shit at. So let's go for that. That's a healthy... Yeah, it's quiet enough that I can ignore it. All right. 31:1. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which our fathers hath gotten all this glory. He, in this case, is referring to Laban, so I suppose it would be kind of retarded to say, and then Laban heard the words of Laban's sons, but then again, we've encountered terrible grammatical structure like that before. So if you all remember back to Genesis 30 last time, Jacob had swindled the swindler by using proto-Jesus magic that the speckled animals outbred the unmarked ones, thus increasing his share of the livestock in accordance with his last deal with Laban. It's almost like this guy should have realized that he was playing games with someone who literally has the blessing of God himself on his side, to his knowledge, and so, by making a deal which seemed too good to be true, he'd miraculously get screwed over, though admittedly he did allow for Jacob himself to raise the flock, so there may have been some selective breeding shenanigans going on there. And now Laban's sons are worried that Jacob is going to steal their inheritance. Join the club, kiddos. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before time. And Jehovah said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said to them, I see your father's countenance, that is not towards me as before time, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye will know that all my power I have served your father. Blech. That was a little awkwardly worded. 31:7. And your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. 10 times? I get the first time. You work so hard for Rachel, only to end up with Leah, so you saddle up for another 7 years of indentured servitude, excuse me. But that then begs the question, what were the other 8 times? Nay, a better one. How long have you been here? It factors out to be about 20 years, but... Nay, an even better question than that. How much of a dumbass do you have to be to get scammed out by your uncle into extending your service to him 10 times? Especially now that you've got 4 wives, 11 children, and a guaranteed protection from God himself. You basically could have turned around at Bethel if you wanted to, but I can understand wanting to get some pussy first. But there is no reason to stay here aside from hiding out from Esau. Even then, you could move literally anywhere else where you wouldn't be exploited by this annoying cunt. And yes, that about summarizes my feelings towards Laban. He irritates the hell out of me, but at the same time, I can't say that he's anywhere near as bad as someone like Jacob or Rebecca. Alright, so we're going to go a little bit further here. We don't have too many notes. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the flock bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ring-streaked shall be thy wages, then bear all the flock ring-streaked. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the flock conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the he-goats which leapt upon the flock were ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled. And it literally happened in real life, so you don't even need to fucking tell us about this stupid dream. And the angel of God said unto me in the dream, Jacob, and I said, here I am. I always love it when characters do that. It's funny. It's like, do they think that God is maybe talking to the wrong person? They got the wrong number. And he said, lift up now thine eyes and see. All the he-goats which leap upon the flock are ring-streaked, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen that all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest a pillar, where thou hast a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee a hell out of this land, and return unto the land of thy nativity. See? Even God himself wants this obnoxiously long side quest to end. By the way, thank you, Eliezer, for recounting exactly what we all just read and insulting our collective intelligence. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion of our inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not accounted by him as foreigners? For he hath sold us, and hath also quite devoured our money. Yeah, you see, I could say something really, really anti-Semitic, but I think just by pointing out that this is immediately where my brain goes upon reading this shit, most of you can already ascertain what it is I'm about to say. Also, rip Leia, again. Not only is she stuck in a loveless marriage where she feels the need to destroy her body by having multiple children in order to appease a husband who doesn't give a shit about her, but now also her father supposedly has disowned her and spent her entire inheritance on Funko Pops or some shit. Yeah, I feel bad for her. Ugly girls need love too. Just remember that, boys and girls. All right, let's get, right to here. For all the riches which God hath taken away from our father, that is ours and our children's, now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and wives up upon the camels. There's mention of camels again. And he carried away all his cattle and his substance which he hath gathered. The cattle, oh fucking hell, excuse me, that's my stomach being a bitch. The cattle of his getting, which he had gathered in Padme Arab, to go to Isaac his father unto the land of Canaan. Yes, boys and girls, we're going back to Isaac. But not yet. Now Laban was gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole the teraphim that were her father's. Now, most every other version of the Bible translates out the word teraphim as idols or household gods. Again, I don't feel the need to keep beating a dead horse here, but the acknowledgement of the other gods in addition to the god by Laban being brought up so nonchalantly here is further evidence that polytheism was the stock standard at this time. What is interesting here is that this translation uses the traditional Hebrew word, which many rabbinic texts have taken to mean disgraceful things, more than likely a definition earned by its inclusion in the chapters such as these. What you all need to know here is that Rachel, despite being named... What you all need to know here is that Rachel, despite naming her only biological son after the fact that Jehovah gave her a child, is apparently still quite attached to these other figures. Hence, what might explain her handmaid's son being named Asher, so quite similar to Asherah. Now, there is some historical perspective to all of this. As Josephus actually writes in his book Antiquities of the Jews, the act of taking house gods or the idols representing them into foreign lands was a common practice. What we are seeing here is likely just the first mention of such a thing transpiring, albeit in a book which has a bit of a reputation for not quite being so tolerant of other gods. But that's a little bit later. We'll definitely start getting into that more once we get into Exodus, but and you'll definitely be able to pick up on the total change then. Excuse me. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he had fled. And why would he be unaware? What then, pray tell, was the point of him taking all the magical ring-streaked and speckled animals as his negotiated final wages with the expressed intent of finally leaving? Laban is about to panic, catch up with Jacob, and then say some fucking bullshit in order to try and weasel a couple extra decades out of him. But this is merely the start of his bullshitlery. Alright, moving on to 31:21. And then we're gonna scroll through here, just through the obnoxious page break. So he fled with all that he had, and rose up and passed over the river, and set his face towards the mountain of Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. Even though this is a retcon, because his sons literally told him at the very beginning of the chapter that Jacob had took all the flocks and everything, their inheritance or whatever, and that he was leaving, but, small details. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the mountain of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream of the night, and said unto him, Take heed of thyself, that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And Laban came up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain, and Laban with his brethren encamped in the mountain of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, oh god, wait, what was his voice again? Oh, yeah. What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives of the sword? Fuck, that hurts my throat, but you guys seem to like the voices, so whatever. Laban, you mean his wives? The waters, the waters, the daughters that you literally disowned? The same ones whose inheritance you squandered on God knows what? The ones whose Jacob, somewhat by proxy, has already had 11 children with? The same ones who literally expressed earlier in this chapter that they are leaving on their own accord with Jacob back to Beersheba? This is certainly on the spectrum. Okay, hold on. Let me get the voice ready again. Wherefore didst thou flee secretly and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs, and with tabret and with harp, and didst not suffer me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Shalom. Now hast done foolishly. Laban, you were not about to let him go. You certainly were not about to give him a fucking parade on his way out. Quit the fucking bullshit, Jew. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spake to me yesternight, saying, take heed to thyself that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Shalom. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou art longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, lest thou shouldest take thy daughters from me by force. What? Okay, but Jacob, what power does he have over them, let alone you anymore? I realize that these are biblical, patriarchal times where the father's will supplants that of his daughters, but I was under the impression that that sort of will and control was passed along to the son-in-law, especially since he's already impregnated Leia several times by this point. He should have said, I wanted to get the hell out of Dodge before you try and deceive me again into yet another decade-long labor contract because you're a slimy, greedy son of a bitch who reinforces all the Jewish stereotypes to the point where it looks like Hitler did nothing wrong. And that's a soundbite for all of you. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, he shall not take live before our brethren. Discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, the one that he pitched, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of the two maidservants, but he found them not. And he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the teraphim, and put them in the camel saddle, and sat upon them. And Laban felt about all the tent, but he found them not. And she said to her father, let not my lord be angry, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the manner of women is upon me. And he searched, and he found not the teraphim. Now, Rachel is taking quite a lot of risks here. First of all, the manner of women is upon me is a really poetic and PC way of saying, I'm on my period. And she even swears this on God himself, who thankfully is not the jealous God of Exodus, otherwise that camel might very well explode from underneath her. Also, it's just rather convenient that Laban buys this whole white lie, which is effectively perjury, by the way, despite the fact that he knows the idols have been missing roughly the same amount of time that Jacob and co have been, though apparently he didn't notice that either were gone for 3 whole days, and I had to be told about it. And yet cannot seem to find them despite searching the entire camp, save for that one place he is conveniently being gatekept from searching. Very interesting. It's a good thing that none of these characters actually think. And there we go. And Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "What is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast felt about all my stuff," that's a weird word to see in the middle of the Bible, but okay. "What hast thou found in all of my household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us two. These 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flocks I have not eaten." He's essentially just saying he hasn't apparently eaten at all, even though he helped cultivate the flocks in the past 20 years. Okay. 2. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee, I bear the loss of it. And my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day of the drought consumed me, and the frost of by night, and my sleep fled from thine eyes. He's essentially just saying, he's taken responsibility for every time a animal from the flock has gone missing or was stolen or something like that, which is honestly, that's kind of standard fare for, keeping livestock. He's not really bragging about much. These 20 years have I been in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy flock. And thou have changed my wages 10 times. Again, just as ridiculous as before. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me. Surely not hadst thou sent me away empty. God hath seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. So these passages have been interesting. As we already mentioned, not only did Jacob never supposedly eat any of the rams he had cultivated, nor had a single miscarriage, which I forgot to mention, but yeah, in that word salad, he essentially said, none of your flock miscarried with me. But also personally covered all the losses accumulated via the predators tearing apart the flocks out of his own pockets. Granted, he didn't have any money anyway, so I assume that's where all the extended time came from. Essentially, this guy really has been put through the ringer, and while that doesn't excuse the fact that he himself is also a liar and a cheat, and at the very least he's getting a taste of his own medicine, is what I would say, had he not finished this tirade by reminding Laban, at us all, and all of us at home, that God had permitted all of this to happen, and that he was always on his side. See, if this was some kind of trial by Jehovah to make Jacob see the error of his ways, that would be one thing. But he has expressly been in his corner the entire time, and even promised to protect him from Esau's wrath, like the day after he deceived Isaac. This entire ordeal is a byproduct of his own gullibility, stupidity, and yes, the conning and greed of his uncle, but it still stands that he had he really wanted to, he could have demanded Rachel, as was his intended wage, right from the get-go, and there's literally nothing this chucklefuck could have done about it. What was he going to do? Contest a god? Fuck off, book. God should have picked Ishmael over Isaac, and he definitely should have picked Esau over this turd. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. And all... Oh, excuse me. Holy fuck, I didn't do the voice. Oh, fuck. I'm sorry, guys. The daughters are my daughters, and the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. Shalom. And all thou... Fuck me. And all thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children whom they have borne? Excuse me, I have to preheat my oven really quick. Oh, sweet baby Jesus, who won't be coming around for a few dozen chapters. Laban is really fucking close to being my least favorite character up to this point. He's descended that ladder. Not that nightmare fuel angel one with faces or the dick piercing ladder. Thank you, Anastasia. No one contracted out of this extra, nor even the one that was constructed out of all the extra chromosomes these past few chapters have inundated Genesis as a collective whole. Had I been the one writing this narrative, this would be the part where Laban and Jacob reveal to each other how downright diabolical they are to one another, only for Esau to come riding in, trample both of them under his stallion's feet, usurp Jacob's 4 wives as his own, and add them to his collection back home before he lights a doobie, tells God to suck his cock, and he is the captain now. And then he ushers in a period of utopic peace and prosperity where the Abrahamic faiths remain the Abrahamic faith, singular, and they don't even need JC or Muhammad to make people see how cool they are. Alas, we are in this timeline. 3144. And now come. Oh, wait a minute. Is this still... Yeah, this is still Laban. And now come. Let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. Shalom. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones, and they made a heap. And they did eat there by the heap. This obnoxious page break. I do apologize for that. And Laban called it Yegar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. Don't worry, both these words mean roughly the same thing. The Bible was just paying a little extra attention to a detail. Remember, Laban is Aramaean, so the word he uses is Aramaic, meaning the Mount of Stones. Brilliant naming convention, I know. And Laban said, this heap is witness between me and thee this day. Therefore, Therefore, the name of it was called Galid. This thing needs quotations. And Mizpah, for he said, Jehovah watch between me and thee when we are absent from one another. Shalom. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, and if thou shalt take wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. Do I have that on page? Yeah, I do. Listen, I'm all for Jacob not being allowed to be the fuckboy anymore and getting any more unnecessary putang, but the fact that it is Laban who implements this limitation, and in the scummiest way possible, which is akin to some politician sliding in some completely unrelated addendum into a bill which would have otherwise universally passed through the House and the Senate. But sure, I guess Rachel and Leah can at least scratch infidelity off the list of things to worry about. Great for them. Let's scroll down just a little bit. We're almost done with this chapter. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this... Oh, fucking hell, I gotta do this voice one more time. Fuck. Behold this heap, and behold the pillar, which I have set betwixt me and thee. This heap would be witness, and the pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me. For harm. Shalom. the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father judged betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac, which, if you remember, is actually quite potent. Isaac is very much so a coward. And Jacob offered a sacrifice in the mountain and called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mountain. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place. And thankfully, this is the last time we see/hear of this cunt, and there are no other rabbinic texts which detail his ultimate fate, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the mysterious stranger Jacob is about to meet in the next chapter was waiting for him back at his house with a 12 gauge because I need something today. Don't worry, Messiah, Genesis 32 and 34 are about to make up for all this shitstorm. But yeah, this has easily been the worst mini arc of the Bible thus far, and the greatest solace I can take in all of this is that it is not only over now, but also because Jacob is about to get his ass kicked in the next chapter, so that'll be quite cathartic. Alright, let me go ahead here and hop over to the comments. Like I said, guys, if any of you have any questions about the material that we just covered, be sure to lay them out over here. Let's see here. Turish, I've been busy with working kids. My daughter has controversial opinions as well. How old is she now? Like 7? 7 or 8? How controversial can her opinions get? Then again, never mind. I've heard some of the things that your daughter has said before. She's based as fuck. Her latest quote: "If someone can't play nice, send them back to their old sandbox." Based. Sifa, you're trying to be Esau sentiment is fantastic, and I stand behind it. Also, hi. Well, thank you. And welcome, Sifa. Yeah, no. Instead of being a Sigma male, the next step above that is a Magnum male, and then beyond that, then you have the Esau Chad. At least that's how I rank them. I was trying to distract myself from the Oyerland situation by making a dance playlist, and now you people remind me again, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry. Completely soy, says Duke of Petchington. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. I assume Jacob, but I don't know. You can maybe be talking about me. Then Sifa says immediately afterwards, can Jacob just not? Thankfully, by the end of this episode, Jacob will largely be removed as the POV character, and we can move on to his son, Joseph, who ultimately ends up fucking everything up. But at least he's not as insufferable as Jacob. There's a stream I'm watching about how Jesus literally factually resurrected, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, send me the link on that. I would love to see that. Literally, factually resurrected. That's reinforcing the opinion. Mythology in mind. What is that voice? Crying happy emoji, and then Anastasia says, sounds like Mel Brooks. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. We brought it up last time. I think it was the last episode when we were introduced to Laban. I also had the Isaac old man voice. Isaac is still alive in the narrative. I don't remember if he speaks again. So maybe that was just a one-time thing. Quite sad. Leah, as written, looks a lot like my mom, and she can get it even in her 50s. So you people leave my girl alone. Are you... That's that's an interesting thing to brag about, Sif Sifa. But I mean, go off then, I guess. I'm glad your mom is still getting some action in her 50s. Crabman says hi. Hello, Crabman, and welcome. Glad you could make it to the stream. I know it's not a Q&A. Well, at this particular junction, it kind of is. So, but are you still doing the Avarian world building project? Yes. So, here's the thing. I've got the ideas. I think I have the script for episode 2 mostly done. And I've got a good idea of what I want to do for episode 3. My only thing now is like, I don't want to dedicate, time to actually making, like full on videos on the whole damn thing, just because that takes a lot of time to edit and script and stuff like that. And also, I'm not entirely sure if the audience is really there. Don't get me wrong, the first video got pretty good views. The issue is like, now I feel like it almost kind of has lost its appeal, because like I went into it initially, just presenting it as like unironic information, and then at the very end I was just like, haha, tricked you. And now it's just it's more or less just trying to figure out, whether or not people would still be interested in the whole thing now that whole wool has been pulled over your eyes, sort of thing. So we'll figure something out. If I do decide to do it like kind of like an OBS live stream sort of thing, that would just kind of be the thing. I would want to figure out how to do OBS, and also, have strong enough internet to stream through OBS. And then we can kind of do like a live storybook sort of thing, with like the bits of art that I already have commissioned out for the project. We'll see. We'll see if that's in the cards, if that's something that people want to see. As it stands right now, though, I have so many projects in the backlog. You guys have no fucking idea how many scripts I already have recorded and stuff like that. It's more or less just me actually kicking my own ass to get started working on that sort of thing. Leah, leave your husband, girl. Yeah, she definitely should. Leah deserves so much better. Yeah, I mean, like, listen. I'm not typically I'm definitely not the guy who goes around saying anything about like women's rights and stuff like that, especially understanding that this was written at a very different time. But like, you gotta have sympathy for her plight. It's like, she gets married off to a man who A, is not interested in her, B, she knows is, more attracted to her sister, and C, just kind of gets sold off by her father without any sort of without any sort of agency on her part. And then immediately afterwards, and I'm thinking this is probably due to some sort of psychological conditioning. Eminem, you could probably do a whole fucking video on this. She so desperately tries to appease her husband by doing things like having, I forget how many children she had with Jacob. Too fucking many. I think it was like 5 or something like that. Yeah, no, it's fucking sick. Messiah, you are going to get noodles. I don't know, maybe. I don't know what I'm gonna have for lunch after the stream. Maybe I will make myself some instant noodles. Yeah. Messiah gets more based the more he reads about these people. Guys, do not take any of my anti-Semitic remarks seriously. God, that is the last fucking thing I need is like the ACLU or something knocking on my door with a cease and desist. She later clarified that the old sandbox was the Middle East. Oh, fucking hell, Turish. She also had a native speaker come to class, and I got called in when she gave a deadpan stare and asked in front of the speaker and the class, "Do we have to apologize to this one too?" Turish, your daughter is welcome to host an episode of this show anytime. I think that would be fucking hilarious. I don't know if YouTube would allow it, but I don't care. That would just be the funniest damn thing. Fucking based as shit. Mythology and the old man voice was okay sign. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you guys like the voices. Tommy Goblin just watched the worst video essay ever. So glad that you are streaming so I could watch this instead. Well, I'm glad to provide alternate entertainment for you all. But now you have me curious. What is exactly the worst video essay ever? Because I have seen some pretty terrible ones in my day. Did they obnoxiously use the word chagrin? I would bet that they used the word chagrin way too much. Crapman, I tried reading the Bible and getting some insight into the Christian religion. I didn't get that far. Yeah, I don't blame you. This is, don't get me wrong, I definitely enjoy doing this stream. Mostly just because I like interacting with you guys and stuff like that. But it is kind of a slog to get through at times. Thankfully, it's starting to warm up a little bit now, and we're almost done with Genesis, thankfully enough. And then we can start getting into Exodus and a little bit more meta things. So that'll be interesting. The Jewish patriarch is a character for sure. Crap, it's really hard to read unless it's really dumbed down. Hey, that's what I'm doing. Also, my mom comment is hopefully made less icky with context that I'm a woman, LMAO. Not really. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything, you know, like, if you want to humble brag about your mom, I really don't care, you know, what gender you are. It's still a little weird that you would be saying that, but I mean, let her go off, Queen. All right. And with that, we are finally caught up with the chat. So I am going to go right ahead here, and we are going to move swiftly along to Genesis 32. Jacob almost gets his balls crushed. You'll see what I mean. Oh, fuck. Sorry about that. I need to get a little bit of drink in my system. The pipes need to be lubricated a little bit. Oh, hell no. Let's get to 32 here. Oh, wait a second. That's the wrong screen. What the fuck? Oh. Wait a second. Why is that not? Okay, that was weird. All right, Genesis 32. Let's just go along to it. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And Jacob said when he saw them, "This is God's host." And they said, "No shit." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Jewish words. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall ye say unto my lord Esau," very interesting wording, "Thus saith thy servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. And I have oxen and asses and flocks and men servants and maid servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find favor in his sight." So, to anyone not keeping track thus far on the narrative, Jacob is heading back to town, referring to himself as thy servant in the presence of Esau. Well, not exactly in the presence of Esau, but you get what I mean. Attempting to barter with his life by exchanging all the goods he acquired from Laban to try and use that as leverage for that whole, deceiving our blind elderly father who constantly shits himself, while also doing a bit of role reversal and stating that he is, in fact, willing to be subservient to Esau, which is odd. He knows full well by this point that Jehovah is all in on his side, and yet he still feels the need to tread lightly in this situation. So either we're seeing his cowardly Isaac side here, or he's trying to deceive him somehow, or he has completely lost faith in God, and likewise the plot. We're about to see it's more than likely the former, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. 32:6. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to thy brother Esau, and moreover he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men are with him." How's that for a response, you fucking idiots? Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into 2 companies. And he said, "If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the company which is left shall escape." Okay, but Jacob, he still has 400 men. And what if he were to attack the party without you in it first? Now, first of all, he's specifically looking for you. If he doesn't see your ugly mug in the midst of the first herd of livestock, he's more than likely going to just keep moving on. It's not like he'd just randomly slaughter 2 helpless women and 6 children of various ages. Also, if your goal is the preservation of your family, which, as we're about to see, totally is not, then wouldn't the best course of action be to take the animals, meet Esau yourself, and have your family wait a short distance away? That way, if you are killed or captured, they at the very least would have the opportunity to escape. Excuse me. Oh, fuck, my stomach. And that's provided if Esau would even bother to try and track down these randos with no livestock. See, that would be the optimal plan. But as we're about to see, Jacob is a selfish coward. Surprise, surprise, I know. 32:9. And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Jehovah, who saidst unto me, return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will do thee good. I am not worthy of the least of... I am not worthy of the least of all the loving kindnesses. That is absolutely a word that totally exists. And of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servants. Well, at least here is a little bit of self-awareness on Jacob's part, but the way he words this is as if he's trying to say that he is an unworthy successor to Abraham, of all people. No, Jacob, I think you're a perfectly fitting successor to Abraham. And again, I'm going to make the assumption that Jacob is running a bit low on faith here, considering the fact that he has essentially already made a bargain for his life to his brother Esau, but then decides to pray to his God for protection. Insert comments about how religious people use it as a crutch only when they're most desperate, and then post it onto Reddit for some gold or karma or whatever the fuck they use now and he uses currency. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two companies. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me, the mother with the children. No, he's only after you. He doesn't know who these people are. And thou saidest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. And he lodged there that night, and took of that which he had with him a present for Esau his brother. 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams. Meaning that those rams have got like 10 females apiece. They're living a good life. 13 milk camels and their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 foals, and delivered them unto the hand of his servants every drove by itself, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou, and whither goes thou, and whose are these before thee? I'm speeding up through all this because we're about to see all of this transpire, literally in real time. Then thou shalt say, They are thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, he is also behind us. And he commanded also the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shall ye speak to Esau when ye find him. And now we get to 32:20. One of the best. One of Jacob's most proud moments, I must say. And ye shall say, moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept me. So, let's recount here. The plan here is for Jacob to hide behind several rows of his livestock and his immediate family, so that Esau may advance through them, and they might try and convince him along the way not to murder his ass. What the Bible really means to say here is that he will purposely wait and see what Esau's reaction will be, and if his kids' heads start flying, he'll turn tail and get out of Dodge. And before anyone tries to say, well, it says that he sent his servants foremost, don't worry. Next chapter makes it explicitly clear that that basically everyone who isn't him and Rachel, gets to be his personal meat shield. I would say you can add coward to a list of Jacob's distasteful character qualities, but we're far past that point. 32:21. So the present passed over before him, and he himself lodged that night in the company. Oh, fuck. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 handmaids and his 11 children and passed over the ford of Jabba the Hutt. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent over that which he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there he wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. Well, yeah, this just came out of nowhere. Yes, perhaps the most dramatic scene in this section of Genesis, and the one most rife with religious significance, even to a modern Christian audience, starts just randomly smack dab in the middle of the chapter. I'm almost convinced this is some kind of error with the editors, or more than likely a case wherein another author stepped in, decided that Genesis 35 and 34 were a bit too short, and then just kind of stapled them together haphazardly. I don't know why I said 35 and 34. 32 and 33 were a bit too short and just kind of stapled them together haphazardly. You can't see my hands, but I'm doing like the little bridge thing. That they could very well just be, my brain delving into another self-made conspiracy theory. But then again, I like my own conspiracy theories, and apparently some of you do too, so yeah. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was strained as he wrestled with him. I was so excited when I first read this, because I thought Samael, God, or whoever the hell this actually is, we'll get into that later, had actually crushed Jacob's balls, given how thigh was used as a euphemism for testicles earlier on. Alas, this translation has failed me by getting my hopes up, then thoroughly disappointing me. The original Hebrew reads, Weyigya bakap yerikao watteka. Literally, and he touched the socket of his thigh, a more technical way of saying hip, and was out of joint. Dislocating his hip is... it's fine, I guess. I don't know. I was about to prepare an entire meme where Samael rides out on his salamander mount with the Gyro Zeppeli hat and with Ball Breaker out in the background. But I guess we can't have nice things. If your fan fiction is that, Rachel was already pregnant with Benjamin by this point, doesn't really matter whether or not Jacob's balls got crushed. Man, I know I get a little bit inventive sometimes and maybe a little too invested in my own theories, but good God, I really wanted his balls to get crushed. It'd be so cathartic. Anyway, 32:26. And he said, Let me go of my balls, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For thou hast striven with God and with men, and hast prevailed. After getting your balls crushed. So, now we come to the part of this text which makes me ever so slightly angry. I know, surprising. You guys ever see that one video where they have a young veteran talk to a Navy veteran from World War II, and the young guy just goes on and on about his PTSD and how fragile his mental health is? And then the old guy talks about all of his friends were exploded in a blast of red mist right in front of him by the Japanese, and then he had to be careful getting to his station so he didn't slip on the guts of his crewmates, which were all strewn all over the deck. If you haven't, it's kind of funny. Well, point is, the thumbnail of that video has the audacity to include a quote, which I can only assume the old guy was trying his best to be nice, saying, "You've been through a lot, haven't you, son?" Yeah, I feel like that when reading this passage. God or Samael, or whoever the fuck this is really trying to hype up the exploits of Jacob here, claiming that it's basically been him against the world for his entire life, and now he deserves an honorific name, and fuck you. When, pray tell, has God ever posed an antagonistic threat towards Jacob or hindered him in any way? The worst experience of his life was toiling away on Laban's farm, and that's all because he was a dumbass and never put his foot down. In fact, there are several passages alluding to God actually making Jacob's life easier while there. And this leads me into a discussion as to why this story is supposedly so awe-inspiring and a great metaphor to never give up or some fuck-witted bullshit like that. I'm not so much concerned with the tenacity of Jacob in dealing with his uncle being such a stereotype that he's on the reprinted cover of Mein Kampf, or the fact that he kept wrestling this dude after he nearly broke his balls, or did break his balls. God, I'm still holding on to hope with that one. I'm more so concerned with the why. Why did he put up with all of that bullshit for 20 years? Why did he randomly start wrestling a stranger? Why was he banished from his homeland in the first place? Well, the answer to the first two is that he is a dumbass, and the third quandary is the result of him being a selfish, malicious little shit. The lesson we should all glean from this, my dear audience, is not to never falter in our trials and tribulations, but rather, don't be a dickhead / literal retard, and you won't find yourself in an anus-splitting scenario where you need to have a great tenacity because everything sucks. Also, Israel means God fights, supposedly to foreshadow how the Israelites will continue to be helpless, struggling victims all throughout their existence, and yet God will always be by their side, or some nonsensical bullshit like that. Well, to be fair, they are winning in Palestine, so I don't know. Maybe it is kind of working out for them. Okay, we're almost done with this fucking chapter. And Jacob asked him and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, thy name." And he said, "Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name?" God, fuck, that is confusingly worded. And he blessed him there. That I guess that's the end of that subplot. And Jacob called the name of the place penal system. For said he, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." Now, Peniel just means the face of God. Don't worry about that too much. Instead, focus on the last two lines, or the last two given names, excuse me, referencing God having the extended suffix L. Because I'm a nerd and I want to drive that shit home. So there is a bit of contention when it comes to this figure's identity. Either he is literally God coming down in one last epiphany before that becomes blasphemy, or it's some angel of the Lord, later identified through supplementary material as Samael. Well, if you want the simple answer, it's likely that whoever the hell wrote this down, if they did in fact intend this for this to be an angel, probably wouldn't have given the specific name Samael, because that's too cool for this part of Genesis to handle. You know, poison of God. awesome fucking name. I really like Samael, by the way, guys. I don't know if you noticed. What is contentious is whether or not it was an angel in the first place. Now, clearly, this stranger has some sort of divine authority in order to be renaming Jacob from the heel grabber to the fighter of God. Indeed, this deity is referred to as he with the reverential capitalization, something which technically should only be reserved for God, but is commonly placed upon the angels as well in written sources, so we really don't know. If you really want to split hairs, angels are supposed to be an extension of God's will and thus God himself, so technically, whichever way you slice it, God was there. I'm not really taking any sides on this one because I'm still salty that whoever the hell it was who that wrote this teased us about the possibility of shattering Jacob's balls, and in reality, he just sustained a minor injury a life alert could have resolved just fine. Let's just finish up this fucking chapter. And the sun rose upon him as he passed over. See, now it's spelled differently, so now I don't know what the hell to think of it. Penuel, and he limped upon his thigh because his balls were crushed. Therefore, the children of Israel eat not the sinew of the hip which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew of the hip. I'm just saying it would make more sense if, the dietary restriction is don't eat testicles, but, Besides having one of his old manisms. So that's 32 done. I'm going to go ahead here. You guys have any questions or anything like that? I'm going to try and keep up with the chat. What was the last one? I think it was Sif. Yeah. All right. Turish, my daughter is 10 years old. What the fuck? I swear to God, I could have remembered when you were telling us that when she was born, or maybe that was your son. I don't know. God, she's 10 years old. She's dismissed organized religion because she disagrees with paying into a system that gets tax breaks. Fucking hell, based. Randive, is this when they cut his foreskin off? Nope, they already did that. That was, well, presumably they already did that. They expressly said that Abraham and Isaac got their foreskins cut off. And Ishmael, I guess, too. I don't think they ever explicitly say that Jacob got his foreskin cut off, but I'm pretty sure, with it just saying, and thus all the sons of Israel or whatever will be circumcised, it would apply to him as well. She'd like it when we have a really fun relationship. Oh, hey, you know what? That's good, Sif. I'm glad. Turish, your kid is based as fuck and also correct. Yes, absolutely. Turish, you're raising a good one. I don't care what the PTA says. Tax breaks should be the least of where your skepticism lies in religion. I mean, it is kind of a big deal. It's usually one of those things that Redditors always like to pounce on. It's like no tax breaks for religion, but religious fundamentalists and Reddit/r/atheist users are the same people. Kind of, I'm a big fan of horseshoe theory. That mental retardation kind of stretches both ways, but yeah. She asked that she make her own cake for her birthday instead of letting me buy one. She made a nice little cake, then sent me an invoice for the cake the next day. Oh my god. Nostalgia. Ah, yes, women and children, the perfect meat shield. Are we sure that he even had the balls to begin with? I mean, kind of by anecdotal evidence, the fact that he actually had children says yes. I would say no. And I would also say no in the present tense, because I really don't want to let go of the fact that Samael crushed his balls. I just find that mental imagery so funny. Turish, OMG, I love her. You tell her that internet people love her, please. Green heart, green heart, green heart. Yes. Let's all take a moment to appreciate Turish's daughter, as she will probably grow up to be more base than all of us put together. There's hope for Generation Alpha yet. Why is everyone doing live streams and premieres right now? What the fuck, man? I am missing 6 just for Messiah right now. Well, I mean, at least you picked the right one to start watching, I guess. I have no idea who the hell else is also streaming as of right now, but you picked the right one. This is the correct timeline, Sif Sifa. Josh, we've been on the internet for more than a few years. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, fuck, man, I really started my internet presence sincerely, like, back in, like, 2017, which is, like, 6 years ago now, which is fucking depressing, but... Bubblegum gun. How is that not a satanic activity? This is no worse than drinking donkey piss like Leve did. I'm not familiar with that name. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to either. You mean wrestling another man and crushing his balls? I don't think that's religious. I think that's just based. If God made it possible for Sarah to have kids, it is probable that he made it possible for Jacob. That is true. That is absolutely true. And remember, continuing on with this entire theme, Rebecca was also barren, as was Rachel, when Jacob first tried to, do no pants dance with her. So maybe the problem... Well, no, the problem wasn't with Jacob, because he had no problem conceiving with Leah. I don't know. We'll I don't know. Now I'm starting to like the mental imagery that Jacob just had a dick with no balls. It was all smooth down there. And he also had a Jacob's ladder. And as he's wrestling Samael, he just pulls all the pins out slowly, one by one. 'Tis a fate worse than death, I say. Oh, fucking hell. We have fun here. We have fun. Holy shit, we've already been going for over an hour. What the fuck? Don't worry, guys. We only have, like, 2 more chapters to go through. They're kind of long. 34, though, I don't have too many notes because I just want us all to enjoy Genesis 34. It's such a great chapter. Oh, okay, hold on here. The foreskin cutting part, Anton LaVey, he was a famous Satanist. He drank donkey piss for his satanic rituals. If you had to choose one, which is worse, going trans or donkey piss? All right, I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration there. But I don't know, man. Like listen, I'm in the camp that says that circumcision is not as bad as some people make it out to be. It's not this horrible satanic practice. It's like, oh man, you just cut off thousands of nerve endings. It's like, yeah, but your body has trillions of nerve endings, and also a dick works just fine even when it's circumcised. The drinking donkey piss thing is like, listen, I don't tell people how to live their lives, but I also reserve the right to say that that's really fucking weird. Had a lot of people owe me favors. That is ominous. My daughter is an avid reader and has started to pick up French and German with the hopes of reading other concerning perspectives in other languages. This is in addition to English and Mandarin. God, that kid is so smart. Jesus Christ. Like listen, I usually, whenever people like to brag about their kids, I usually like to tell them to shut the fuck up. But like, goddamn Turish, you got a fucking superstar here. You know, that kid, I swear to God, that kid is gonna grow up to do something majorly impactful. I don't know if it's like getting into politics or some shit like that, but yeah, no, that kid's gonna go far. Unrelated, but Esau seems parallel to Enkidu. Whoa, God, and Kindu to me, both hairy, both decent dudes. Yeah, that's fair. I would definitely say like the whole Enkidu and God, why is the name eluding me now? Tomas. I know that's not the usual name that we use for him. They're supposed to be more parallel to like Cain and Abel, but I mean, like, just given how much themes repeat in the Bible, you know, like just brothers being adversarial to one another, it's definitely possible. Cutting your foreskin is pretty fucking weird to me too, if you ask me. Well, yeah. Especially if you take into consideration why it's so implemented in the United States in particular. It's like it's supposed to discourage young boys from jacking off. Well, I hate to tell you, but okay, hold on. I'm gonna very quickly go through everything here. If I do skip over a few comments that don't have terrible amounts of context to them just because of the delay from YouTube, I apologize. But the new kids are, I assume that's weird. The new kids are weird, Turish. My 12-year-old brother now speaks English, Lithuanian, Portuguese, Russian, and now studies Japanese because he's bored. Yeah, what the hell are you feeding these kids? My God. I can barely speak English. And Kindu is the four-stand from Gilgamesh of Sumer. Gilgamesh. No, not Gilgamesh. No. Okay, I should have specified. And Kimdu is who I thought you were referring to. They have very similar names. And Kimdu and then Dumuzid. That's what I'm thinking of. They're supposed to be like parallels to Cain and Abel. And Kidu. I mean, he might be. I don't know. Let's all just appreciate Esau. He's definitely the superior brother. I find that the parents in my area are either coasting on the upbringing or are super invested. Yeah. Like, I don't know if this is getting to be a little too personal, and this is kind of an aside from what we're talking about, which is, you know, the Bible. But my ex had a nephew, and he was 9 when I met him, 10, you know, by the point in which we broke up. But Jesus Christ, that kid was the worst behaved child I have ever seen in my entire life. He would routinely just scream at the top of his lungs whenever he's playing video games. He was incredibly selfish. He like you would tell him to like pass the salt or something like that, and he'd say, "Why?" Like, he was a little shit, you know, and you know, that kind of gave me like a negative impression of like Generation Alpha. But you know, never judge the trees for the forest, I guess. So I don't know, maybe there's hope. I have a group of parents in the neighborhood working on privately funding a school apart from the school board's curriculum. That's based. Crazy Human. Hey guys, what's snippening? What? It sounds painful. Don't worry, we're about to get into that. That's Genesis 34, and we are about to get into 33. So let's quickly move along there before I get too distracted by the chat. Oh, hold on here. Let me pull down your comment. Also present the screen. What the hell are you doing, Messiah? You zoomer. You're the bad kind of zoomer. No, actually, that's not true. I know what the bad kind of zoomer looks like. Anyway, Genesis 33. And we immediately have a note. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming. All right, go Esau. Reclaim your birthright. Slaughter the impure bastard. Honestly, we could very well get away with this bearing some kind of divine intervention from Yahweh here. Oh, excuse me. I read that completely wrong. What the fuck is wrong with me? Honestly, he could very well get away with this barring some kind of divine intervention from Yahweh here, seeing as he has essentially been king in Jacob's absence for the past 20 years now. King in activity, not in title, seeing as Isaac is somehow still alive, but, you know, small details. To the rest of the people of Beersheba, this Jacob guy is just some asshole who swindled Esau out of his inheritance and didn't even act as a leader when he technically was supposed to essentially, you know, just go out of town and look for pussy that entire time. Which is exactly how we should view Jacob, as well as all the people here. And with him 400 horsemen, and he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. So, you guys remember back in 32:20 when I said that Jacob was going to hang back and keep his favorite squeeze with him while Esau potentially cleaves through all of his children, his other 3 wives, and all the livestock he brought with him so that he could turn face and run if things immediately went south. But I didn't have a passage to explicitly quote. Doesn't really matter since most of you believe me anyway, given Jacob's track record. But here it is. I would say that this is in contention for the worst thing Jacob has ever done, because while ruining the life of your brother, lying to your old, blind, and partially retarded father, and emotionally manipulating your wife are all bad, in this case, he is willingly endangering the lives of his entire family, save the wife he transparently has favoritism towards. And to anyone who wants to argue, oh, well, Jacob wasn't that bad. At least he provided for his family and didn't just throw them away. Here he is, actively throwing his family away. You know what, guys? I think I'm going to call it right now. Jacob is the worst character in Genesis. I would say the worst one that we've read up on thus far, but I really don't think that Joseph can fuck things up that badly. I think he supersedes his mother in terms of how terrible of a person he is. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know whether or not you guys agree. I definitely think so, though, that we've passed the point of no return with this cunt. 33:3. And he himself passed before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. So, I am going to get a little bit sentimental here. This is one of the few times that you're going to see genuine human pathos out of me. This right here is unironically and legitimately the most mature, beautiful thing that I have read in this book thus far. Despite everything Jacob ever did, and despite the fact that he is objectively an evil person, Esau still found it in his heart to forgive him, and even to embrace him as he came home as his brother. Despite the fact that I'm sure most of us in his position would have done the easy thing and condemned him to death as a traitor. Esau is being the better man, not only to his brother, but to most of us reading this as well. You see, I take a lot of personal grievance with the concept of quote-unquote forgiveness in Christianity. You could supposedly do some of the most depraved things imaginable, but so long as you have accepted Christ into your heart, you're good to go. Jeffrey Dahmer, infamous serial killer, cannibal, and pedophile. Remember, one of his victims was 14 years old and was lured to his apartment with the prospect of sex. This absolute monster of a human being converted to Christianity in prison, and on its face, we're all supposed to just be okay with everything that he did. I know that a lot of Christians don't actually believe that Dahmer made it to heaven, either because he was faking it, or because what he did was too depraved. That's fine. I agree with you. But you do have to admit, it's pretty fucked when a guy like this has a backdoor written in your own doctrine that he can exploit, and there are genuinely people out there who think that all you need to do is take a bath and be absconded for all of your sins. In contrast to that, where Jesus supposedly forgives anyone who asks, no matter what they did or who they did it to, the first time they legitimately ask. Let's just take another look at Esau's situation. Did Jacob wrong him? Yes, absolutely. Should he have chased him out of town? Yes. Otherwise, he'd be able to stay and walk all over him. That's not good for anybody. But here's the key difference. Esau wasn't actually hurt by all of this in the long run. He got to become the effective leader of Beersheba, reigning over the place for 20 good long years, all while his brother was off being a dumbass in exile. It's not like he's coming back to usurp the throne. I mean, Christ, he only has a bunch of kids and goats with him. He doesn't really have that kind of manpower. Instead, he at least knows well enough to shut up, put his head down, and accept what may come. Esau still gets to be in charge after all of this. So he can either be angry about something which his brother did to legitimately harm him, or he can choose to turn the other cheek and be the better man. And this is why I wholeheartedly believe that Esau is the best character, morally at least, in all of Genesis, and quite honestly, the entire Bible. He shows us what forgiveness should look like. If you are to be forgiven, it should be by the person you specifically wronged. And that person should only forgive you if no real harm has come to them, or at the very least, the person who originally wronged them is in no real position to try and one-up them again. Forgiving someone is the big thing to do, but you also need to make sure that it's not the stupid thing to do. And even still, fuck Jacob, that piece of shit. Anyway, that's my sobby, piss boy lifetime ramble. Let's move along and just kind of get through this chapter. Just simply because all the interesting stuff happens in Genesis 34. I keep hyping that up. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, "Who are these with thee?" And he said, "The children whom God hath graciously given thy servants." Then the handmaids came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also and her children came near, and they bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, "What meanest thou by all this company which I met?" And he said, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." Notice the dichotomy is very much so shifting here. Jacob's now on the back foot, and he is acknowledging Esau as the superior in this situation, which he should. And Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Let thou which hast be thine." Such a fucking cool dude. And Jacob said, "Nay, I pray thee, if now I have found favor in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand, for as much as I have seen thy face, as one seeth the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my gift that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, "Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee." And he said unto him, "My Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and that the flocks and herds with me have their young. And if they overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die." We're getting to the note. You just kind of remember everything that I'm reading here. "Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servants, and I will lead on gently according to the pace of the cattle that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come unto my Lord, unto Seir." Whew. Excuse me. And Esau said, "Let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me." And he said, "What needeth it? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." And so Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. So what just happened all there? The text is a little bit confusing, so I'll break it down for you. Jacob here is being a little deceitful, but not in a way which expressly harms Esau. More so it's just to kind of cover his own ass. When Esau offers to accept Jacob in back home and provide him and his family, he turns down the offer and instead offers up some of the livestock as penance for his brother's forgiveness, despite the fact that he has already expressed that intent towards him. It has been suggested that Jacob doesn't totally trust Esau here and doesn't actually want to go home with him, instead offering up some of his animals and then essentially saying, well, we're all so frail, we'd only slow you down, so you guys go on ahead, we'll catch up. This is both A, to put some distance between himself and Esau because he doesn't trust his intentions, and B, to get him to accept the penance offering so that he'd look like a dick if he turned around and tried to kill him afterwards. Excuse me real quick, I'm gonna get a drink, my throat is drying out. Alright. Now, this whole theory doesn't work because, remember, Esau still has his 400 men with him. If he truly wanted Jacob dead, he wouldn't bother being deceitful, and he would just crush him right then and there. You know, the parts that weren't already crushed by Samael. That's neither here nor there. There is literally no benefit whatsoever to taking him all the way back to Seir, which I guess is what we're calling it now, and then just killing him later. I believe Esau was being 100% genuine here and just trying to be a nice guy to his estranged brother, new sisters-in-law, and nephews, but Jacob continues to operate on an IQ lower than the gas mileage of a Hummer, so yeah. He's not going back with Esau at all, potentially putting his family at risk once again, as he doesn't even allow for bodyguards to stay behind. (33:17). We're almost done with this chapter, by the way. Thank God. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore, the name of the place is called Succoth. So, you thought that they were genuinely going to Seir? Well, no. Jacob again, unjustifiably mistrusting the situation with his brother, actually heads north to this brand new place, which lies in the exact opposite direction of where Esau and his men would have ran home. Again, though, if Esau really wanted to kill him, he would have just done so when he was literally in his arms, or if you truly want to commit to wanting to kill him in Seir for some reason, he would have noticed after a while that you didn't follow him, and then would have just sent his men out to hunt you down anyway, assuming that he didn't have a few guys hanging back to check out on what you're doing and, you know, all that after you had already left. Jacob, Esau is not like you. Quit being retarded and forcing your family to start a brand new settlement and just go home already. Literally, God told you to go home at the beginning of chapter 31. I don't understand. Whatever. Oh, and also, Succoth means booths, because apparently the landmark of this whole area is that they have cows that live in booths. It's all very exciting. This is a much better situation that he put his family in than, you know, actually going to the established city. Fuck Jacob. And Jacob came in peace to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. When he came to Padme Arab, he encamped before the city, and he bought the parcel of ground where he had spread his tents. He squatted on the property and then decided to buy it. That's definitely the order in which you do things. At the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. It's very specific. The correct term to be used here would be kisitas. I think that's how you pronounce it. And while we're not entirely sure what the conversion rate was for the currency, or even strictly what material it was made from, most people assume it to be silver. Yeah, by the way, achievement unlocked! The chosen people of God now legally and officially own a very small piece of the land which was designated as their Holy Land. Congratulations, I think. Don't worry, they're going to steal the rest of the land and use underhanded tactics to get the rest. But take solace in the fact that even today, those borders are disputed. Oh, hold on here 1 second. Shut the fuck up, you impetuous child. I didn't know if you could hear that, but one of my devices was beeping. It's obnoxious. You have to touch a button every 12 hours. It's fucking gay. Anyway, let's get this one done. And he erected there an altar and called it El Elohi Israel. Yet again, for anyone who still has their fingers in their ears and refuses to acknowledge God and El as the same character, he literally builds a shrine here called El, the God of Israel. That's 3 L's in one title. And the first one explicitly spells it out for you. Oh my El. And that is Genesis 33. In all seriousness, I definitely do think that this is probably the best chapter to glean any sort of like morality from. And ironically enough, it comes from the person who is supposed to be sort of antagonistic in this whole thing. He's the he's the ancestor of the Edomites, by the way, and you know, we don't like people from out of town, mostly because the Jews are racist, but you know. Alrighty, fuck. All right, let's see here. God will never have my genitals. I need them to live. Kind of, yeah, I guess. If you define purpose in life as procreating. He sounds like a tit. That's because he is. Human. The Abrahamic God is not the same God Christians believe in. He kind of is by proxy. Okay. All right, now it's just Discord here in the chat. I'm not gonna draw too much attention to that. You guys can just kind of sort that out as you go along. Anastasia, what a schmuck. That kind of summarizes everything perfectly there. I don't know. I was kind of hoping to hear a little bit more from you guys on like what I had to say about the nature of forgiveness and morality. See whether or not, you know, there's disagreements, agreements, anything like that. I don't know. Maybe Bible fatigue is kind of starting to settle in. Old man Balls Nagesh, by the way, welcome. Is there a book that follows Esau's actions while Jacob is off slithering around looking for women? Not to my knowledge. Next episode, we are going to talk briefly about we're going to talk a little bit briefly about the death of Esau. Spoiler alert, this guy who lived over 2,000 years ago died. We're going to talk a little bit about that, just simply because it almost seems like when you read this, the attitude towards Esau can be very charitably interpreted. Whereas, you know, like the source that actually talks about how he dies is blatantly very anti-Edomite, kind of paints him out in a very negative light. I'm not going to enjoy talking about that. One little bit of solace, though, that I can take in that is that, spoiler alert, Jacob dies before Esau. And that makes me ever so slightly happy. Oh, wait a minute. Get rid of that banner. There we go. He's also a putz. I mean, there are several words that you can use to describe Jacob, none of which are very polite. I'm too forgiving, but I think that's because of my Canadian upbringing. Sorry about that, eh? We were talking about this the other day. Like, the Canadian stereotype of their people being too polite is... It's reinforced by people like you, Turish, but there are also plenty of Canadians who I have met online who are some of the worst people I have ever met in my life. Particularly those from Quebec, so I don't know. I don't know if you want to count them. Supreme Bacon, hello Messiah. Is this the same Jacob that wrestled an angel? Yes, we already covered that in the previous chapter. We are still on Jacob as like the POV character. After, I mean, he's mostly done as of right now, as far as being like the POV character. He's still around for a few more chapters, but 34 and 35 kind of picks up a little bit more with his sons. They kind of take a little bit more of a... Oh my god. Excuse me. The gas pockets in my stomach are starting to explode. Levi and Co. Will start to take over here very shortly. Nastia coming out with the good ad hominems. It's weird. I have never heard anybody call her Nastia. Oh, fuck Quebec. I think most people agree with that sentiment, Turish. I'm reading all of your texts with a Boston or Italian accent. I don't know why, but it's hard to stop. Has anyone else read something with a funny accent before? Yeah. Don't worry. We've definitely done funny accents before. They're probably not about to stop, because once we finally do get to Joseph being the main character, I have a certain voice in mind for him. Quebec can get glassed. What a fucking waste of a province. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. Alrighty. So, are you guys ready for the main event? We're going right into it. My favorite chapter in all of Genesis. Not too many notes on this one. We're just gonna sit here and appreciate everything that happens. So, Genesis 34. Foreskins fall, everybody dies. Let me get that. That was a little bit anticlimactic. I probably should have switched over to the tab as soon as I said that. Genesis 34. Foreskins fall. Everybody dies. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she bare unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Remember, they're still in Shechem. And Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivites, I don't know why they changed around the names, the Hittites, the prince of the land, saw her, and he took her, and he lay with her, and humbled her. So a few things to clarify. Like I said, this guy is Shechem, same as the city he lives in. Kind of like a Vegeta situation. Just get used to that. And also, this translation is a lot more vanilla about what actually happens here. The words that some of the other translations use are seized instead of took, and humiliate instead of humbled. And some just spell it out for you for what it is. He raped her. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at Genesis 34. My favorite chapter of the Bible, sometimes eponymously called the Rape of Dinah. But if that's all that really happened, our story would end right here. And I choose to call this chapter The Great Snippening, as you all shall soon see. The following events are both hilarious and nonsensical, and given my appreciation towards Shintoism for exactly those reasons, I think you will all be very able to see by the end of this why it is my favorite. So for now, I'm going to shut up for a little while with the notes, and let's just get on with it. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. Now Jacob had heard that he had defiled Dinah and his daughter, and his sons were with his cattle in the field. And Jacob held his peace until they came. Remember that for later. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because they had wrought folly in Israel in line with Jacob's daughter, which ought not to be done. By the way, kind of strange, a bit of a side note, that they're referring to Jacob as Jacob again, even though God or whoever, one of the angels, gave him the title of Israel. He hasn't really used it. He's just still going by Jacob, which I guess works for me. He who fights God is a bit too cool of a title for him. Ugh. Let's see if I can get through this without my stomach bursting. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you, give her unto him as a wife. And make ye marriages with us. Give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. And ye shall dwell with us. And the land shall be before you, dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. So, what Hamor is bargaining here with is to say that if they were to allow Shechem to marry Dinah, then maybe all of Jacob's sons could take non-incestuous wives from the city, and they can sweep that whole nasty business of rape under the rug, and all just be buddy-buddy from now on. Of course, though, these are filthy Canaanites, so that's not going to jive with El for some reason, but you'd never guess that given Jacob's reaction, which is effectively nothing. He just straight up doesn't even react to the news that his daughter was raped, and instead, it is all of his sons who just get pissy over what had happened to their sister. Kind of speaks to Jacob's new character immediately following his interaction with Esau. You'll notice that from now on, he definitely acts more cowardly. He's still deceptive as all get out, but he more or less does so in a sense of self-preservation rather than trying to further his own goals. So, and we'll definitely see that again come the end of this chapter. And Shechem said unto her father and unto her brethren, Let me find favor in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. Famous last words if ever I've heard them. So effectively, Shechem has just agreed or said outright, I'd do anything just to fall asleep with you. I'd do anything. And I forget the rest of the lyrics to that song. I'm a bad scene kid. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father with guile, and spake, because he had defiled Dinah their sister, and said unto them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. Only on this condition will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we are, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor, and Shechem Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, but he was honored above all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, These men are peaceable with us. Therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein, for behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take our daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men consent to us to dwell. Only on this condition will the men consent unto us to dwell with us, to become one people. If every male among us be circumcised, as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and all their beasts be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of the city, and every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that the two sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city unawares, and slew all of the males. So, to summarize, because Junior fucked up, everybody had to get their foreskin snipped off to avoid an incident where he doesn't get his Jewish princess Coochie. And to save the prospect of them all potentially getting Jewish princess Coochie, they all decide to get snipped. at the exact same time, leaving the city totally defenseless, in which two guys were able to just waltz right in there and slaughter the entire population while all of their regular defenders are doubled over in their beds because their junk hurts. That is one of the best stories I have ever heard. And by the way, they do clarify, if you were wondering about Hamor's Shechem. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went forth. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because they had defiled their sister. Deserved. They took their flocks and their herds and their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field. And all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives took they captive and made a prey, even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, Ye have troubled me, to make me odious to the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Pretzels, and I, being few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and smite me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And then we get one of the most based comments ever. And they said, Should he deal with our sisters as with a harlot? And this right here is a cherry on top of all of this delicious sundae. Simeon and Levi essentially said, Fuck you, Dad. They literally raped your daughter, you limp-dicked beta cuck. I see that quite a bit of Isaac's cowardice was inherited by Jacob, in addition to Abraham's propensity to be a dick. At least his stupidity is all his own original characteristic, though. So, to close off today's episode, baby steps of progress have been made here. As Jacob is finally back from his indentured servitude to Uncle Laban, he made up with Esau, though that doesn't really matter because he's a coward. And thanks to him, he got an extremely small spot of land in Canaan, and no thanks to him, his sons got the Jewish people a whole friggin' city, its livestock, and plenty of women and children to keep as sex slaves. Things are now on the up and up for them. But what happens when the old folly of jealousy and lousy parenting comes back to bite them in the ass? Again? Well, you'll all just have to find out next time on Quadruple B, Episode 9, Joseph and the Extremely Gay School Shooter Trench Coats. That is all that we have here for today. I will be taking questions in short order and, just kind of reading through comments here just to kind of catch up, and we will round out today's episode then. Thank you all so very much for joining me. Wasn't in optimal condition to do this today. Like I said, I do have a little bit of a stomach ache, but hopefully my narration was fine. Also, my ears hurt. I need to take these headphones off. All right, so let's see what we have going on here. Anastasia, a Russian girl that I went to school with, called me Nastya. Well, I don't know. Is that like an accepted way of shortening your name generally? Because like, I don't know. To me, it almost sounds like they're emphasizing like the nasty, nastya, sort of thing. I don't know. Human, just for fun, I like to practice me Dublin accent on the comments. So do I. Oh my god, we're still on Quebec. Quebec was so ill prepared for the pandemic, they had to call the military in to assist. Afterwards, they raised a fuss over the military they sent in an invoice to. Classic Quebec. Classic Quebec. Diddling kids and overreacting to things, and then blaming other people for when they overreact to things. Oh no, I know where this is going, I think. Oh no. My girls, read The Red Tent following Dina. Very interesting and instructive. Instructive for what? Is this witchcraft? Stop. Stop perpetuating the myth that women actually exist. Okay, I don't know if the delay is just like super bad, but Anastasia says, pretty good brotherly act. I assume this is in reference to Esau? In which case, yes, I absolutely do agree. Old Man Balls Nagesh, excellent episode. I look forward to the next. Well, thank you. I'm glad that this one actually went according to plan for once. This is the third time that we've been trying to do this stream. Thankfully, this time, with all of you very smart and enlightened people, I didn't feel like I had to be the special needs teacher at the quote unquote gifted classes. Gifted being derogatory in this sense. But no, all of you guys are cool. All of you guys are great audience, great people to talk to. It's just you occasionally get some bad apples in the whole thing. So, Turish, I think the bill was about $52 million. That's nothing. The United States spends that on giving cocaine to monkeys like in an afternoon. No, it's in reference to punishment for raping their sister. Oh, you mean Simeon and Levi? Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Especially since Jacob expressly didn't want to do anything. Great father, in addition to all the other examples you could cite. Yeah. No. Simeon and Levi, they have distinguished themselves from the other 9 brothers who are presently present. Definitely give them bonus points. Oh, fuck. All right, I'm gonna hang around for a second or two here. Get something to drink. If anybody has any more questions or comments or whatever, sure to leave them in the side chat. I'll absolutely address them in short order. And then I think we can be done. So, thank you all again so very much for tuning in. It really does mean the world to me that, some of you can appreciate this nerdy little hobby of mine. Not just mythology in general, but also, the Bible, because I know to some people, like they either take issue with the fact that I study living religious texts, quote unquote living religious texts, or they just take issue with like the Abrahamic faith in general. I tend to lean a little bit more towards like the secular cynical side of things, which I hope gets conveyed fairly well. But at the same time, I'm willing to give praise where it is due. Very much so, like in 33, where Esau forgives Jacob, which I genuinely do think is probably unintentionally, one of the most unironically one of the best things that I have ever seen in printed media. But let me finish up this Pepsi. Excuse me. My daughter was complaining that her school library doesn't have enough historical nonfiction. She's on an early Cold War logistics and military kick at the moment. Good fucking God. Turish, you need to submit that kid's application to Mensa. And it's really not Nasty, it is Nastia. It's a common nickname for my name in Russian. Well, see, the more you know. Chalk that up to my American ignorance, I guess. Secular and cynical, lol, I knew it. Wasn't really trying to disguise it very much. Bubblegum gun. I do carry a very secular and cynical attitude towards pretty much everything that I do on YouTube. And I mean, like, that's kind of hard for people to understand from time to time. But, you know, it all comes from a place of reverence and love, you know, for the material. You know, obviously I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have an interest in it. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get off on the wrong foot. They just see me like making sarcastic comments and they just automatically assume for whatever reason that like he doesn't like the subject matter in which he's talking about, even though if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have bothered making a whole video on it or dedicating a whole channel with like 50 plus some videos now on the very same thing. My brother in Christ, we would not be getting up to episode 9 of trouncing through the Bible. Whatever gene for being a good brother that Esau got must have passed Jacob's dickishness to his sons. We'll see how you feel about that once we get into 35 and 36, because they're not exactly the best brothers to Joseph, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. I think it's an overblown reaction. Spoiler alert, by the way. But I don't know. Simeon and Levi, at the very least, are very distinguished gentlemen in doing what they have done thus far. So I was telling a theist bud, secularists are cynical, not nihilistic. Well, yeah, no, that's a huge lapse in, that's a huge jump in logic. What the hell? Yeah, no, that's incredibly large jump in logic. Then again, that all kind of traces back to like that's old, tired sort of opinion that, like, you know, oh, atheists aren't moral. It's like, no, they absolutely can be moral. In some cases, I would argue they're even more moral. You know, at least they're not pointing to specific passages in a book which explicitly justifies racism and slavery. But like I said, I don't really care. It's like I'm just a filthy fence sitter. I'm just throwing rocks at either side while, you know, they're trying to lob like flaming effigies at one another. So But that doesn't mean I don't have principles. It just means that I think my opinions are a lot more reserved. Turish, I was there for the super early Messiah days. This is a great evolution of your content. Yeah. We don't talk about the super early Messiah days. Yeah, no, like, I don't know. Back when I still had the original channel, I would look back on my stuff and I would definitely be able to like pick out like certain things, like certain lines, certain jokes and stuff like that. And I would say, wow, that was actually funny, in like a sea of absolute cringe that was the rest of my content. But no, I'm glad that, you know, you at least think that there's been some evolution to my content. I think there's been evolution in my content even since I started this channel. You know, you look at my first video, which was just this pretentious rant that was so boring and dry, and I was like trying to emulate all the other mythology YouTubers at the time. And then, you know, I eventually just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna go ahead and do my own thing. And you know, other people will try to argue that it's not very effective or whatever, but I mean, we're at the end of November right now, and we're closing in on 6,000 subscribers. So obviously some people like it, you know, and I acknowledge the fact that I can't please everyone. And there are going to be people who are, you know, immediately turned off by my sense of humor, or, you know, my liberal usage of no words that YouTube doesn't like. But I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing, as, you know, as long as I can, because I still enjoy doing this stuff. And I know that there are people out there who enjoy what I do. And at the end of the day, I'm out there more to please those people than I am just some random asshole on the internet. You know, it's like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, people put so much self-importance on themselves and their opinions on the internet, and they think that they're God. You know, they'll come to you and say, well, you know, I'm completely ignoring the fact that you've been doing this for 5 years now, and I'm going to tell you how you should, you know, structure your content and stuff like that. It's like, I tell them the same thing every single time. You know, if you think that you can do it better, be my guest. Go right ahead. You already have a YouTube account by nature of you having a Gmail. You can do this whenever you want to. You don't have to watch me. You can, honestly, if you think you can do it better, by all means, go ahead and try it. And you know what? Not a single one of them has ever taken me up on that. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of people out there who can talk shit, but very few can ever back it up. So that's been my end of stream mini rant. Towards everyone refines their opinions and viewpoints over time. We're shaped by our experiences and how those around us react to us. Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, you know, I'm very glad that the community I've kind of built around myself is a lot more accepting and understanding. Because I know for a fact there are people who disagree with my viewpoints. I mean, Mythology in mind. I don't know if she's still here, but you know, in terms of like the political dichotomy, we are on absolutely opposite sides of the coin, but at the same time, we're still best friends, basically. Just by nature of the fact that we're able to accept one another's opinions and, you know, not get nasty at each other over this sort of shit. And I think that's the way that things should be. I honestly do think that there are way too many people anymore nowadays that just, they hold their political beliefs as gospel. It's kind of like a replacement for religion. And anybody who goes against it, they dogmatically get super defensive about it, even though it all comes from a place of differing opinions where discourse should be encouraged. But that's me just being a grouchy old man. I can say I'm an old man now. I'm a quarter of a century old, and I'm already super jaded. I hate everything. I hate all of you. That's not true. I love all of you. Sif, as a gifted individual, I appreciate your sermon, good sir. I'm glad. I'm glad I can make people happy with, you know, not just my content, but my words from time to time. So, all right, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. We've been streaming for about 2.5 hours. That's about the average length of these episodes. So, tune in next time whenever the hell I decide to make another one of these. I already have a really, really cool, funny title thought out, but I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about the thumbnail. I might there's Goblin. Goblin, I may ask you to make a thumbnail where Joseph is wearing a rainbow colored trench coat, and he's got like a shotgun, like a glitter shotgun from the Simpsons. Oh no, wait, that was makeup. Do something really, really gay for him, and make it funny for the next thumbnail. Don't worry, I'll compensate you for it. Anyway, he says, absolutely true. Political identities are nothing more than aesthetics, and new religion, that's where radicals like me come in. And I wouldn't even say that you're radical, man. I would say, like, I don't know. You almost seem to have gotten a little more sentimental since you started university. I may have to whip you back into shape. I'm kidding. You can go ahead and, you know, choose to believe in whatever the hell you want to believe in. You know, my Discord is always going to be an open door. Have an open door policy to anybody of any sort of opinion. I don't care. And even if you do have a terrible political outlook on things, not naming names, but you know who I'm talking about. I'll still let you, you know, shoot your shit. Just, you know, always be prepared for pushback. You know, that should be just a rule of life. But, you know, the Messiahs and Mythology Discord is a small slice of paradise of what could be, I guess. So, in any case, thank you all very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. My name is Messiahs and Mythology, and until next time, I hope you all have a God's blessed day.